I have talked to a lot of state agencies over the years about tribal consultation, and a couple things come to mind. Is one is communications, having good communications with each other, and that means not just occasional communications, but having regular communications with each other. People change in agencies and move on to different places, and for tribes, we tend to be the same folks over the years, and so it's trying to also make sure there's that continuity as people leave in state agencies, that there's materials or information or background about how they consult with tribes. Another piece is what does consultation really mean? So there's a couple pieces to that. One, and you probably have heard and others about small C and big C consultation. Small C consultation being talking with our staffs and getting to know them and having a dialogue with them. And then big C consultation meaning government consultation, and that's where the the top state officials will meet directly with our tribal council. And so that's for government relationships. That's when you're meeting with big C consultation, you're meeting with our tribal council. You're not meeting with me or meeting with staff. That's the small C consultation. So it's something to remind folks of, and what does that mean? We've had over the years new people come in and say, well, we consulted with the tribes, and so we checked that box. Well, don't just check the box. Have a dialogue and make sure you're having these type of conversations with the tribe. The one thing that comes to my mind about probably good communications with state agencies, and not only just state agencies, but all stakeholders, are collaborations. For Warm Springs over the years, we've had what we call a good neighbor policy. And what that policy is one of, we're always going to be here forever, the tribes, and so are our neighbors. So we need to be talking with each other, we need to be getting along and working with each other as best we can. We may not always agree, but at least we still have a dialogue and talking. And so it's that has been something important, I think, for all of us, is that we're all neighbors and we need to be talking with each other.
We can start with sovereignty, which is a powerful word, and one that sometimes is hard to understand, and we have to go back to, I think, where and how we started as a tribe. We are a treaty tribe with the federal government, so we have a treaty that was negotiated in 1855, and in that treaty there's specific rights that we reserved, and one of those was the right to fish and collect our first foods in our usual and accustomed areas. And in there, there's also language that establishes the right to govern yourself. The treaty also allows for us to manage our landscape, but it also allows us a right to sit down with the state and co-manage lands and resources that are defined in our usual and accustomed and ceded areas. The ceded area for us is 10 million acres that we sat down and identified as lands that we were occupying in 1855 and said, we will cede those to the United States government, but we will retain the rights for our usual and accustomed purposes of those lands. A lot of Oregonians and a lot of folks not affiliated or aware of what tribes' rights are get a little upset over the fact that tribes are out, exercising their rights beyond the boundary, but we're utilizing the rights that were negotiated in the 1855 treaty for us to utilize those lands. Along those same lines, we co-manage them with the state. So we sit down with the state when there's a project that's coming into our ceded lands and identify the areas that are going to be affected, and we help identify what are some of the mitigation measures, some of the things that we can do to offset that impact. The tribes, for example, have a certification through the federal government for issuing water quality standards in waters on and bordering the reservation. And the Deschutes River is on the reservation, so the tribes and the state jointly have the responsibility to put measures into place to ensure that the water quality standards are not being significantly impacted by the use of the resource for in this example, the Pelton project. So the operator, which is the tribe, and Portland General have standards that they have to follow. As a sovereign nation, we were granted that right to be treated as a entity that can impose those conditions, just like the state.
In the early 90s, our people started feeling that pressure, and they wanted to, how do we deal with this? So tribal sovereignty. And it kept coming back to an explanation like what Webster says, what sovereignty is, law of the land. When our people questioned it, what does that really mean to Warm Springs, to our people here in Simnasho? It got to the point where the elders, well, they came to this building here, in this room here, came up with the Declaration of Sovereignty, which our people signed in 1992. And it's to remind all of us the importance. And as we talk of within our boundaries, to remind those around us that we have a say on what's happening outside in our ceded area. This is what I would hope would be shared for information's sake, that they read it, and it's very well written. And it says, though briefly though, this may not cover everything, but it's an attempt to share. And education is very important as we deal with the state, that they begin to understand. To me, true consultation is when you come to our door. You don't make us track you down. You come to our door, you come through our door, you sit down with us. And we come in a way that where you're not last minute, where you want something from me that needs to be approved today because you want to do it tomorrow. Consultation goes back to even how our people thought about the treaty. When they sat there for days talking about it, 3 days just discussing, what are we really going to do? What does it mean to us? So consultation should happen the same way.
I have, in my travels, have talked about sovereignty. My cousin, Delbert Frank, and the rest of the council decided to develop, along with Charles Wilkinson, develop the Declaration of Sovereignty, our view. They said that we have to repeat ourselves when we're asked that question. So we put it in a documented form so people can read that. Then if there's anything particular, they ask that question. But through that document, they'd know who we are. And basically, it is just respect, recognition of that. So whatever is being recorded here, I hopefully that my younger people are listening. And I'm hoping that state people, federal people who are non-native understand this is our position. It doesn't matter what tribe you're talking to, but this is our position as to who we are, have been, and will continue to be. And we'll carry on our teachings long after we're gone.